States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I think this is our second special board meeting out of 13 years that somebody's been on the board, so. How many have you been at, David?
Too many to count.
So, anyway. So the roll call, everyone is present except TJ McLaughlin is not here, so we have a quorum. And then we have the approval of the agenda. Any additions or deletions at this time? If not, the agenda stands as presented. And we're down to public comment. Anybody?
I'll just say something brief.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Whitaker, Salem Township trustees. My name's Larry Roman. I've met most of you before, but not all. I'm the supervisor in Northfield. With me today is Township Manager Douglas McDonough and Northfield Police Chief Marty Smith and Northfield Township Police Lieutenant Dave Hall. And we're here to answer any questions that you may have of the police service contract that you have before you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor. Anybody else? Okay, if not, we'll head down to the business item over here. Is about the Northfield Township and Salem Township's agreement for police services. So if I know most of you have the contract and have looked at it, and we can start out by any questions from the board. David?
Thank you, Mr.
First one?
Supervisor.
All right.
I have a few, a couple just for clarification, but then just to get some information on a couple of the items. I know that this contract says we're committed to paying the salaries and benefits of the future officers that are going through the training academy. Has that already started, or will that trigger be pulled upon the execution of this agreement?
I can answer that question. We currently have one in the police academy that started October 7th. And then the other officer that we, once the contract's approved, if it's approved by Salem, we have another one in line to start with us. He's currently working at another agency. So he doesn't have to go through the academy. He's already a certified police officer.
Okay. And the one that's in training currently, how long does that training take, and when would they be available to be on duty, pending approval of the contract?
His academy ends in February, and then it takes at least 3 or 4 months for him to be trained because he's never been a police officer. It'll take him 3 or 4 months after the academy to be trained. So we're shooting at probably May for him to be road certified.
And just to clarify, the second one, who's already a police officer, it'll take him approximately 3 to 4 months for field training with us before he's ready to go.
And when will he come on board with you folks?
Well, if this is approved tonight, we'll make an offer here ASAP.
I see, okay. So he's ready to jump on board
Yes.
pending?
Yes.
He's actually turned out 2 other positions at other agencies.
Okay. What is the cost for the academy, just out of curiosity?
The academy itself, I believe, is $6,000, and then there's some incidental costs that are affiliated with it, as far as equipment, and then additional training part of it within the academy, and then the salary of the officer. Currently, and it just passed, the governor signed the bill in for $10 million to be affiliated or associated with academy grants. So we're hoping that we can get him in the academy grant, which will help offset the costs of the academy. we're waiting on the academy director is going to notify us when the grants actually come available.
And that grant can be used for his tuition and his salary while he's in the academy.
It's good to know. I know this got mentioned when we first started discussing potential contract agreement with Northfield. What is the base fee as part of the annual fee that's outlined in the annex B?
Are you talking about an annual fee for us?
The base fee, the annual base fee?
The annual base fee is $24,000.
And that's designed for,
That's the service contract fee. It's basically, I mean, everything else is budgeted. So when we set up from my perspective as the police chief, I will have a separate budget for Salem Township. So all the money that comes into from Salem Township that gets put out to the officers will be calculated and accounted for. So at any point in time, if a member from the Salem Township Board wants to see where the money's at and what's being spent, I'll be able to provide them with a copy of the Salem Northfield Township Salem budget, so you'll be able to see where that money's going exactly.
my last question deals with the timing. Based on what these gentlemen have shared with us today, we're looking at 4 to 6 months out pending execution of this contract. I'm a little concerned about the potential timing of overlap or lack of overlap that will occur with our friends at the county. And now that our attorney has been able to find a parking spot to walk 5 miles to get into the building, thank you, Mr. What's the status of our termination agreement with the county? And how does that impact the timing of the startup of police services with our friends from Northfield?
Well, if I can just say on the county side, we, on our contract, it talks about a 6-month notification that we will not be using their services anymore. So that's kind of what it says. But I have heard from different people in the county that, you know, when we're ready to go, they're ready to let us go. Not, and that's not to be in a mean way, it's just that they know, some of them know that we are doing this, so I'm sure they're going to work with us on it as far as the timing goes. So we want to make sure, right now, we do have one officer that they're giving us that is here, and Officer Webb, and is doing a great job. And so I would think that we would keep that going until, that would be my request. If we approve this, to keep him on and pay for that service until we can get coverage from Northfield.
Yeah, to the supervisor, if I can, when the supervisor and I discussed it, we thought it's better to have some overlap than to have a gap in between. In other words, we couldn't terminate the county contract until we know this is in place. So once this is in place, we can work on terminating the county contract. But it's better to have a little overlap than to have a gap in service.
So, once this contract's approved, I'm looking at section 3, charges for services, letters B and C. So we would be invoiced for that annual base fee that I made an inquiry about earlier.
Well, actually, the first year, there is no service fee the first year because of the initial startup costs. So if you look at Appendix B, you'll see in there that the service fee doesn't start until the second year of the contract because of the initial startup costs being, it's basically $10,000 each officer for the initial startup. That's to buy their equipment, their rifles, their guns. So after that first year, we only deemed it appropriate that we don't charge the service fee because of the initial startup costs that Salem Township was going to have to incur. And then we decided that at year 2, 3, 4, and 5, that service fee would be in there.
Thanks for clarifying that. overlook that there was no base fee in year one. Section C entails that we would be responsible for any related increase in insurance premiums for hiring 2 additional officers, plus any additional dispatch expenses. I see outlined in the spreadsheet that there's an annual liability premium of $5,000. Is that what you folks have already found out from your insurance carrier? That
Yes.
that's the additional
It's
cost?
5,000 for each officer. I think it was 5,000 each officer. And so that was included, and then the dispatch service fees. We're currently working, we were waiting on Metro Dispatch to give us a price for the dispatch services, because the initial quote that they gave me included 24/7 coverage for our guys being in Salem, which that's not accurate. We're only gonna be here 12 hours. So it took them 6 weeks to get back to me, and basically it was cut in half. So it went from 96,000 to 48,000, plus there's the additional costs with our Clemis stuff. Clemis is our records management company. It provides the CAD service for dispatch, so there's a fee associated with that. We currently pay a little over $30,000 for those fees. So in the contract, we included a portion of those fees to be included with Salem.
Question?
Well, that's the dispatch fees in year one.
Yeah, because they are sure what they're
What
gonna
the
charge us
increases are gonna
in
be.
year 2. Right now, we're at a 9% increase with them. And just for record, we are exploring other options for dispatch services for Northfield Township. Period.
So that's another expense that might be added in future years going forward.
Well, it's gonna increase. She told us for sure it's gonna increase. She just doesn't know what the increase is going to be. But like I said, we're exploring other options for dispatch for us, whether this Salem contract goes through or not. So we're looking at saving money and dispatch fees, services.
We currently pay $91,000 for dispatch fees, with a 9% increase estimated for next year, so we'll be over $100,000 that's for our township, for the fees, just for dispatch. So obviously, we're looking at other options.
I see. Now, going forward, what amount would you anticipate Salem would be responsible for?
Well, that's the problem, we don't know, because we don't know what her increase is gonna be.
So going back to my question, is that will be an expense we'll see billed to us going forward? We
Yes,
just
if there's
don't know that
if there's an increase, then it would be an increase put on you as well as us, whatever that increase is. That's why if you look at the appendix B, it says year one for dispatch services only, because we don't know, it's not like they can tell us, okay, next year you're gonna be paying 9%. Because they basically told me, we don't know what it's gonna be, because they have to reevaluate how they're gonna be billing people.
Very good, thank you for your responses.
You're welcome.
Question.
Done.
Our current payment schedule with the county is, they basically take the fee and divide it by 12 months, and we pay monthly. I see letter B on charges, we'll pay the base fee within 30 days. Will this be billed monthly, divided by the whole total, or how do you normally,
Well,
do you have any?
this is all news to us, so, I mean, basically, if that's how Salem Township wants to pay us, that's however you want us to invoice you, we'll invoice you that way. If it's monthly, quarterly, however, whatever you guys deem appropriate.
That's good.
Between the township.
Yeah, I would think that that's gonna be something that would have to be dealt with between our supervisors, not necessarily through me.
Right, exactly. Okay.
Okay, any other questions for our guests?
Mr. Supervisor, one last question, if you don't mind. As far as the new vehicle that you folks will be acquiring, is that something that's readily available, or are you gonna have to wait a year for?
You sign it tonight, I'm
We
ordering
sign
it
tonight,
tomorrow.
we're ordering it tomorrow. We have
It's a hot-
one being held tentatively pending, I mean, Lieutenant Powell's been the one making arrangements.
Yeah,
with
they're
that.
hot commodities. I mean, we've had to think outside the box of getting vehicles for ourselves lately, and they have them available on a lot in another state, but it'll be shipped up here.
Mhm.
That's,
This is the same model car that you folks
yeah,
use?
it'll be a black Tahoe. It'll have our graphics on it, just like our cars, and then we're gonna designate it with Salem Township unit somehow or another on it to be
Excellent. Thank you.
designated for you guys.
Glitters.
All right, any other question? All right. Well, I think things I really appreciated, folks, our guests here tonight, this afternoon, of how all this came together, and just by some of the needs that we have, and I'm excited about it, just the fact of having more patrols on the complaints that come in to the township with, just with the speeding and just different issues that we've had, to where we have a big problem with trucking, as most of you know, and some of the calls. So it's just, just to have a relationship and have somebody here in the town is gonna be 7 days a week, 12-hour shifts is really gonna be a noticeable change, I feel. So I just appreciate your willingness to take us on, and I think it'd be a great relationship, and looking forward to it, so.
One other quick question. If you had to take someone to jail for some reason, if you had to stop them and they were drunk and you had to take them, where do you take them to? Do you take them to the county, or is there a place that you're?
No, we don't house prisoners at our station. We process prisoners, but we don't house them. So if it was somebody that, well, I guess it's multiple scenarios. So if somebody gets arrested for suspended license and it's a misdemeanor violation where they have to be processed, they would be processed at our station and released from our station. If it's a situation where they have to be processed and then held, they would be processed and held. They can either be processed at our station and driven down by the same officer, or they will be transported right to the county jail and be processed at the county jail. At our facility, we cannot house prisoners because we don't have 24/7-hour dispatch.
Okay, that's good to know. Gary, I believe I read somewhere in here, if we find that we need additional hours, I think I read in here, that we do have an option at an hourly rate if need be. Or if we go over and above the,
Yeah, there's multiple scenarios that can happen. I mean, for instance, if an officer gets here and something happens and he's over, then he would get paid at the hourly rate that we charge for that scenario. If it's a situation where, let's just say somebody in the community had a special event and they wanted somebody to work outside of the range of the 7 hours, we have that similarly in Northfield with German Park. So if there was somebody that had a major event and they wanted a couple of officers there, then we would do a contract with that person, show them or let them know what the billing price is, and they can have a determination of whether or not they want that service from us. And then that would be between our department and that entity. If it's the township, say the township wanted something over and above what you're asking for, like over the 12 hours, if there's a special event, then it would just be handled, and in the contract it says anything like that will be handled between Gary and I, or Dave and Gary, because fully aware of what's going on. If it's an overtime detail, if you want another officer for another additional 4 hours or something, then there's a set amount that would be facilitated between the two entities.
thank you.
Just to clarify, so we're looking at basically a very partnership arrangement, so if there's expenses incurred for something we do, we're gonna cover those expenses, but there's not a markup fee or anything like that on top of expenses?
No, the fees will be all, I mean, the hourly rate that the officer that's here is the current rate that we
Everything added, but again, it should
It isn't me.
There is just so you're aware, there is a different price if it's a private entity, because Salem Township has the car, has the officer here for the 12 hours. For instance, when we charge German Park, we have to include the officer's salary, his benefits, and the vehicle that's being used. So the rate goes up when it's a private, I guess, I don't want to say private, but when it's a specialized detail. That rate would go up if it was somebody outside of the township. Now, Salem Township had something that they wanted an officer there for 4 hours, they would be charged the same as what we would charge our officers for. You know, like if, like, for instance, our 4th of July celebration, our officers get paid their time and a half hourly rate. If it was a situation where the Salem Township, if you were hosting something or putting something on and you asked for additional officers, then that hourly rate would be based off of what the hourly rate is for us.
I can't imagine anything better than a partnership arrangement, so I get we have to cover our expenses, but, you know, but having the ability to do that
Yes.
and just have to cover the expenses is a great opportunity.
The biggest concern that I was presented with from the citizens of Northfield Township is they didn't want any money from Northfield coming into Salem. And I basically assured them that that was not gonna happen, because the understanding is if something happens in Salem Township with our officers, as far as overtime or anything like that, Salem Township will be invoiced for that, and it's written in the contract.
Bonnie,
Okay.
go ahead.
Seeing as how we have an event once the Flag Day thing here and fireworks here, are they gonna come to fireworks, or do we have to ask them? Because fireworks is not technically a township thing, it belongs to community events. How is that gonna work?
Well, I believe we never had police protection before, other than someone leading the parade. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
So, unless we felt like we needed it, I'm sure they would provide it, but we'd have to pay for it.
As long as it's not on the day of our fireworks.
Yeah.
What's that?
As
As
long
long as it's not on the same day as our
not.
fireworks.
No, ours is on,
It's a week before Flag Day.
right. Yes, Linda.
So following through on what Bonnie said, you and I had discussed where there were kids on the roof of the school
Right.
during the fireworks. And the only quasi-law you have down there are the firemen, and that's not their job. They're to be the friend of the people. They're not to be peace officers. So is that a possibility where we could have the firemen go back to being firemen and have police officers potentially there who could handle something like that for us?
Right.
Because I know most fire departments don't want to have that blurring of responsibilities. Because again, if you have an emergency, you kind of want people to call the police, where a lot of people are a little more leery of calling police versus fire, because police can give tickets. And then that's my other question is, this is a relatively rural community. And the one detrimental thing I've heard through the community about this proposed arrangement is that Northfield gives tickets if you're 1 mile over the speed limit.
That's not-
And I'd like
that's
that
not- that's not
clarified on the record tonight, what their philosophy for policing is, because again, this is your opportunity to tell our community how that works. It doesn't sound to me like it is, but that is what I've heard.
No, that's not a factual
I
basis. at
tried
all.
to ask them to find a Barney Fife, if we could find just that it could bring the
I
military
will-
back into Salem, so.
I will tell you this much, our officers have used very good discretion, and the majority of the speeding tickets that are written for us are written for 5 over, unless there's something extenuating in those circumstances. And with that being said, we also provide, if you have a good driving record and you get a speeding ticket for 5 over, there's a function through Washtenaw County called online mediation, where if you have a good driving record, then that ticket can be reduced even farther. So, I mean, we do make stops, but we won't make stops for 1 mile over. We make stops based on, I mean, I personally, if you're doing 32 and a 25, then I'm probably gonna pull you over until you slow down. If you're doing 40 and a 25, then I'm probably gonna wrate you a 5 over ticket.
And I also hope if someone's driving erratically at
Oh,
the speed limit, you're pulling them over too. So I
Yes,
assume
absolutely.
that.
No,
Thank you.
I know that there's a misconception about tickets, and if you look at our monthly reports through Northfield Township, you can see the amount of traffic stops that we make, and the tickets are broken down for what we write them for. So obviously, speeding is the majority, that's the biggest complaint we have. So that's usually our biggest violation is speeding. But if you look at the amount of warnings that we give versus tickets, our department is not designed, we don't make money on tickets.
That would be really helpful, I think, as a member of the community to see. Is that a public record that we can
Yes, it
access
is.
online?
It's put out
So just go to
monthly.
their website.
Yeah, if you go
Okay.
to Northfield Township's website, every monthly report through the Board of Trustees, when they have their monthly meetings, the first meeting of every month, the police report breaks down all the violations, all the runs and everything. And with that being said, I would be able to provide that to Salem Township. Once we take over, you would have a report of what the officers are doing each month.
Thank you for answering it. Gary, I have one question that's,
Can I touch on your
Oh,
question? We're
sure.
very community oriented. Our guys aren't here to slap cuffs on everybody they see. Our guys are gonna be expected to be out of the car, shaking hands and kissing babies. And if that's not happening, I wanna know, because that's what we're here for, is to engage the community and bridge the gap and be a part of your community. So, that's what you're gonna get.
And I certainly felt that with meeting you guys and the supervisor in the meetings that we've had. So we felt that connection right away, that's very important to us as a community. So.
Yeah.
and then this would, Gary, be a question to the board. How many calls for police services does Salem have in a month? Do you have that data?
Well, we have kind of stopped getting some of the reports that we were getting.
That's why I asked. if
Yeah.
you
I can
had
can
that.
tell you that based on the research that we did
Yeah.
when we did this
And I gave you
contract.
some figures.
It was 2,700 calls per year on
Okay.
average.
Thank you.
Just a quick comment. It's always been my complaint and word about the concerns of the speeders in Salem Township. I always call it Salem Speedway, because the people come out here and they know there's no presence of anybody to stop them from speeding. And as Linda's concern was, I think it's the reckless drivers that need to be addressed, obviously, as you know. And that's what occurs out here a lot. There's people rolling through four-way stop signs. They don't have any concern of safety, and they come out here and they open up their cars and motorcycles because they know they're not gonna be pulled over and possibly ticketed or
Well,
enforced.
hopefully that'll change.
Yeah.
If you have somebody there every
It's always
day.
been and, you know, with the chief, I'm sure there's been accidents throughout the township that have occurred because of that reason, and we don't hear of it so much, but it'd be nice, yeah.
We have seen, if I may speak, we see a wonderful, tremendous increase with Deputy Webb coming from accident investigations and his approach to enforcement.
Mhm.
We've seen, I think, better compliance. The challenge is that we've had is that we don't have coverage 24/7. So a lot of the problems you've had, holidays, weekends, after hours,
Sure.
and that's hopefully.
I mean, I'll come out on my approach and there'll be a car passing on the double yellow. I'm making a right, he's coming, passing on the double yellow, and if I didn't notice, if my wife wasn't with me and she's telling me to stop because I'm looking left for oncoming traffic, it would have been a head-on all day long.
And 36 square miles is a lot of area for one car,
Sure.
so let's keep that in mind too,
Yeah.
right?
No,
I mean,
most
if there is a designated area where you guys are having a problem with, you know, like, let's just say right here in front of the township hall,
Sure.
if there's an increased problem between 3 PM and 5 PM, that officer that's assigned to Salem will be directed by myself or lieutenant, say, hey, they're having issues with speeders on 6 Mile between 3 and 6, or 3 and 5, or whatever it is, and they'll set that up. Plus, there are other avenues that you can take as a township that you may not be aware of to help curb the speed. You can buy, I don't know, there are a lot of communities now that have the solar radar signs on posts, and
Right.
that does slow, I mean, I live in Howell, and it does slow people down on the side streets, because the average person, a lot of times, doesn't even realize how fast they're going.
Sure.
And then they get a big sign that says, slow down, slow down. It's just food for thought. It's something that I brought up to our township several years ago, and I'll bring up again. We do have a speed sign in Northfield Township that we move around the township, and if that's something that Salem Township would like later on, we can work on that as well.
Nice.
We also do directed patrol details where we'll take 5 or 6 guys and girls or cars and put them out in an area, a flooded area. We've had major problems, and the fire chief knows there at Dixboro North Territorial. And with all the construction, I mean, that's like 23, running through there, and we put a traffic detail out there. We had, I think, 6 or 7 cars out there, just hammering everybody and, getting the word out
Right.
that we're there.
Right.
And, it's,
And that was my other comment. I know eventually the word is gonna get out that there is a presence out here and people might think twice about what they've been doing. So, thank you.
Yes.
As a follow-up, when we're discussing now philosophy of policing, the Hamlet has been an interesting situation the last 2 months, as you know, because of the construction going on. And there've been a lot of issues with how the current deputy handles that. There's supposed to be no through traffic, but people are either coming to a destination or they're leaving. And the current deputy will drive right up into people's parking lots. He will challenge people, where do you live, people coming out of it. How would you guys handle the scenario that we're in where there's no through traffic?
well, they should
And
be
yet
done
there
in
are
6
people,
months.
I drive in every day, I own a large farm here in Salem Township, and I run the little post office, so I drive in every day. I come before the deputy's on, and I typically leave before he leaves. But a lot of negative feedback about how it's being handled. How would you guys, just again to share your philosophy, how would you handle this situation?
I think, I don't know what you have going on out here. I guess it'd be tough to answer that. I mean, and again, it's, are you having the same problems with the same people over and over?
Well, those of us
Or-
that live or work here, yeah, we drive in and out
Right.
every
I mean,
5 days.
you have to have
6 days a
understanding
week.
that they're trying to get to work, right?
Yes.
I guess it'd be on a case-by-case basis. I don't imagine this happens often, right, here in your downtown area?
Would you follow somebody right into their driveway?
If they committed a traffic infraction, yeah.
No, these are people just trying to get down a road that says no through traffic.
Right, they're
But
disregarding the
they're-
traffic control device. That's a
But they're
that's a
going
traffic infraction.
home. They're going
Well, he
home.
doesn't know that, though.
So you guys would drive right up a driveway? That's all I wanted to know.
If
Thank
they're
you.
there to address a traffic infraction, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think what I've seen from our deputy is he has been pulling people over that have disregarded the no through traffic, and what I seen him and talked to him about was the people that he'd pull over were people that weren't even living in the township and they were passing through. But I hadn't heard that much about what you're saying, Linda, but
You don't work at the post office.
I wouldn't like that. If they were, especially if they lived in the hamlet here and they're just driving up into their home, trying to get to their home, and then they're following.
Well, a lot is going to depend on the situation. I mean,
Right,
if the officer-
right.
I mean, if you have an officer that's doing that on a regular basis, he's going to get used to knowing who's coming through at that particular time.
Right.
So, I mean, if, like Lieutenant Paul said, if there's a traffic violation and they pull up in a driveway, we have no way to determine if that's their home or not until we can reach out and
Right.
talk to them.
Right.
So
All
they're
right.
gonna do exactly what's being done.
And one other thing, if you could maybe explain, so I can make sure the guy who pays the bills. As far as, all right, when you have an officer who, let's say, is in training or he's pulled away, and we need that extra person, to say a vacation or whatever, to back, I always get confused on the backfill and the overtime. That's always been an issue with the county, and I wanna,
So what it'll come down to is if I know that, usually if somebody takes a day off, I'll know about it at least a month ahead of time. So if there's an officer that's assigned to Salem Township, well, let me preface this first. At no point in time will the officers that are assigned to Salem Township be off the same week. So with their 12-hour schedule, you will always have somebody in the township at some point during the week. There won't be a full week where you don't have coverage. So if an officer is working Monday, Tuesday, and then the other officer is Wednesday, Thursday, and then that officer then works Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the first officer, if that second officer takes Wednesday, Thursday off, you still have 5 days of coverage with an officer here for 12 hours. Now, if you wanted somebody to work those days off that the officer has taken off, that would be an overtime expense to Salem Township. It's the same thing for us. If I have guys take off and I don't have coverage, I have to pay overtime for it. So that's how that would be. Now, that overtime can be 12 hours, and the minimum I would say would be 8. So if you wanted 8 hours of coverage for that officer that's off, you would be responsible to pay 8 hours of overtime. If you wanted the full shift covered, it would be 12 hours of overtime. In the unfortunate event that one of the Salem Township's officers is off for an extended period of time, then you and I would have to work out an agreement. How do you want this covered? Do you want me to backfill it? Do you want me to try and adjust the officer's hours that's still currently working here? And then you would eventually lose coverage because you wouldn't have 2 officers working in that period. But as we discussed before, Mr. Ricker, that's an extended period of time where somebody's off injured, or where we don't have the body to just say, okay, we got to put somebody else in Salem Township, because then that takes away resources from Northfield.
Right. Right. Everybody understand that?
I do, you get the same coverage you got before.
And then we would, certainly would know that somebody, that, in other words, you're gonna let us know so that we can make that decision.
Oh, absolutely. The only time that this would be an issue is, for instance, the Salem Township officer called off sick at 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
I'm sure you don't want me calling you at midnight
Right.
asking you if you want me to fill that shift.
Right.
So in that situation, what would happen is, in the morning when I come in, I would reach out to you and say, hey, we had a sick call last night. Do you want me to fill any hours on this shift? If that situation doesn't happen, then we would still respond to runs in Salem Township. You just wouldn't have anybody on active patrol.
We plan to share some kind of calendar with you too, Mr. Whitaker,
Right.
as a foresight thing. Hey, just so you know, you got an officer out for a week in November for vacation. You'll have plenty of time to consider what you want to do with it.
I'm not gonna fill a shift unless it's an emergency situation, without you having prior knowledge of what's going on.
Perfect.
You're not gonna get a bill for 40 hours of overtime without you knowing that there's
Right.
40 hours of work.
All right. Any other questions?
One
Dave?
last thought, assuming we approve this, I think we're probably heading in that direction. What's the schedule for you folks to approve it at the township?
It's already been approved.
Well, it's already been approved.
Yes, we've already been approved now, on October 28th.
Very good.
Last Tuesday.
Anything else? If not, Mr. Clerk, do you have an emotion or?
Right now,
All right, all right. If I can also just make, before we make the motion, just want to let you know, I did have a phone call with the Sheriff Dreyer that called me and also played a bit of phone tag. But I did have a good conversation with her. We did talk about the letter that she had written to me, and it was basically, I don't know if it was an apology, but it was more or less saying that she wished she would not have wrote it. And but again, as I've said, we are not here to cause our county any trouble or talk down about them. An officer's job is highly respected in our community, and no matter if it's the county sheriff or any police department. So I just, I give her credit for calling me and trying to just talk things out, and realizing that, hey, maybe if something doesn't work out with Northfield or something happens, that we still want a working relationship with our county, and not to have ill feelings towards each other. So we left on a good note, and I just think that's worth mentioning. So I appreciate her reaching out. So
And along that same line, I think, based on your discussions with her, we're not going to have any difficulty terminating the contract, even though we won't have given them 6 months' notice.
right.
I just wanted to inform the Salem Township Board that I have reached out to Michael Sura, who is the post commander for the Brighton Post, and he is well aware of what's going on and welcomes the change because we're going to be here 7 days a week. So he welcomed that aspect of it, and if the board isn't aware of it, the predominant backup at nighttime for the state police is Northfield Township. So we've already been in the community working with the state police. So that relationship with them is going to continue to grow.
Good point.
I did have a question for Ed. When do you want this agreement in the motion to start? Like today, or is there a date in the future that you want to coordinate all these things with?
Well, I think the next step would be for either the supervisor or myself to contact the sheriff's office and let them know we want to terminate that agreement officially. And whenever that termination date is going to be, then obviously some point shortly before that, we would want this contract to go into effect.
So that doesn't need to be part of the motion then, because we won't really know that right now.
Correct.
Today. Okay, so we'll just, all right, so we'll make a motion here. Actually, do we have a second for this? Well, let me read the motion, and then to approve the Northfield Township and Salem Township agreement for police services, and for Supervisor Whitaker and Clerk Wensley to authorize this agreement. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Okay, John Daniel seconds it. Any other questions?
Just clarification, essentially, if we sign this, part of it actually takes effect immediately, because they have to hire people, stuff like that, right?
Right.
So, but having them actually patrolling will be a date down the road, but effectively, this contract starts today, as far as letting them know that.
Correct.
Start spending money.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
So we should put, let's just put a date so that everyone knows it's starting today
On the contract.
on the contract. Okay, so we have a second, and I will do a
Roll call.
vote.
Can I ask a question first?
Yes.
Can I ask a question first? I have been listening very carefully to these people who say, we're going to backfill and we're going to get in people, and only if you approve they can put in people when they have people off for vacations and stuff. Isn't that exactly what the county was doing? And then I listened again, and I heard this gentleman say, we stop everybody who's going 5 over.
Nobody says
That's
that.
what he said.
That's not what I said.
No.
I did
You
not
go
say
back
that.
and look at the, well, we
I
got the
said
tape.
we write people for 5 over
Tickets for
that are
5
doing
over.
excessive amounts of speed limit. We don't stop people for 5 over.
Well, that's not the way I heard it, but okay. But it just seems like we're shifting around and we're paying for a new car, we're paying for training, we're paying for stuff we didn't have to pay for the county. And if it runs over what our general county bill sounds, I don't think we're getting a great deal out of it. I do appreciate the fact that they're going to let us buy a car and put our name on it, or they're buying a car and we're putting the Salem on it, because I don't really want Northfield to run up in my driveway and say, hey, you're doing something wrong here, unless it did say Salem on it. But I don't see the difference with all the backfilling and the overtime and the people off that they say they can do, that the county didn't do.
Yeah, well, I think it's a whole lot different than what we were getting before. Number one, we were not ever, we were told on overtime that when we needed somebody, it just, they took the upper hand to do some of that backfill or to give overtime. But we, I think with this contract here, when you look at it, when you compare to what we have now, we have 7 days a week, which we've really never have had. We've had 12-hour shifts, which we've never had. So there's a lot more into it, I believe, that we'll be benefiting from Northfield versus the county. And the one thing that I am excited about is just the working relationship with these gentlemen that are sitting here. Again, we would never want somebody to come in and turn the township upside down by enforcement or That's not it. These gentlemen have been upfront and been easy to work with, and it's about community, where we want to see people here, and that's the number one complaint that I have. And, you know, I'm not complaining, believe me, I'm not. I'm just telling you, my daily routine is getting phone calls from the residents who are on some of these roads where people are just taking advantage of it. And we, you know, I'll pick up the phone and call, you know, one of the, or we only have one, a deputy, but it just goes to voicemail. They're not here. We don't even know when they're here. We don't know when they're not here. And it's just, the communication of that part has been just horrible. And so, you know, we try to come up with different ways of managing it ourselves. And, but it gets old after a while. People just want to see. And they ask. They talk to me and call me and tell me, we never see anybody. So I think this is going to be a big drastic difference, and I'm really excited about it. So,
If I can speak to the financial side of Bonnie's question, Bonnie, it seems like we're in a partnership and they're going to itemize all those expenses, whereas when you look at Washtenaw's bill, it's rolled up into a fee per hour, per officer, per day. So we're going to see these expenses and possibly even have some control on the input of the expenses or choices that we can make on these expenses, where you're not seeing that with Washtenaw County. It's a kind of a lump sum expense. So there's no itemization on the Washtenaw County side, extensive itemization like we have here. There's a lot of communication over, as we talk about dispatch expenses and equipment and things of that nature. So, and whether or not we want to spend for the overtime. So that combination of communication and itemized expenses is a huge opportunity for us to also manage it and see where the money's going and have some say as to where the money's going. So it's a positive.
all right. Anybody else? John, you have something?
Just something we're really thrilled, you know, in terms of having law and order in Salem Township. You know, make sure everyone knows that, you know, we don't want to.
I think the bottom line is Salem will be a much safer place with the presence of police and the citizens of Salem will have that protection.
Safer
right?
place.
And it's been always an ongoing concern that they weren't getting the protection that they rightfully are
That's the
entitled
only thing
to.
they're talking about.
And once again, I want to thank Supervisor Larry here. We, you know, we never even met each other. I knew there was a new supervisor over there, but we had lunch together, and my big concern was that, and just a roundabout way, just mentioned to him if there was ever a possibility to have a partnership. And I believe it was the next day where he called and said, you know, this might be a possibility. So again, it's benefit, to me, it sounds like it's benefiting Northfield, but also benefiting us. And if we can see this great partnership work out, I think the community's gonna be happy and all of us are, so. All right, excellent. All right, we will have the roll call vote. Daniel.
Yes.
DeLuca.
Yes.
Reeve.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Wensley, yes. And Whitaker? Yes. 6-0. All right, thank you, everybody. Moving down, any other, I lost my sheet, so we're,
Anything else on the agenda?
General township updates.
any general township updates we want to talk about? I mean, I could talk an hour about it, but
Do
we
we
got.
want to talk, do we want to talk about it, or at least update the board? on it?
Nothing, other than the sewer that we keep waiting for a signed letter on for them to commit a letter of understanding of their resolution as far as commitment that we can have the road right away to go through Canton Township with the sewer. I did send a letter to Eagle last, what is today? I believe it was on Monday at noon. And I'm requesting the permit for the wastewater treatment plant. So that had been submitted. What the next process of that this is, I really don't know how that works. They're not telling me how it's going to work, other than the head director of Eagle and also the assistant have been talking to Canton Township, and their attorney is writing something else up, which we should be hearing from maybe tomorrow. So we still absolutely do not want a wastewater treatment plant. We want our own sewer line, and but we need a commitment from Canton Township to be able to go through the road right away without any problems of them backing out after they agree, after us doing engineering on it. And so that's where we're at on it. It's unfortunate that it's taken this long, but everybody has to be patient, so. And hopefully this comes to where we can be successful on that, so. I don't know what else. Anything else, Ed, did I?
No, I think that's about it. You know, we've, Canton, 2 months ago, I think, passed a resolution granting us consent to run the pipeline through Canton, but it had 5 or 6 different conditions on there. The most egregious of which was they wanted us to put in the infrastructure to solve their flooding issues in the south end of Canton, which would have been costing millions of dollars, which we said absolutely, Salem's not going to pay for that. So we have, we gave them a revised memorandum of understanding that basically grants Salem Township consent to come through, telling them what we would do, that Salem Township will be responsible for the maintenance of that sewer pipe and the operation of that sewer pipe. And we would also give them a hold harmless agreement with regard to anything in regard to that sewer pipe. And that we would replace any trees that have to be removed during construction, all of which we thought was very positive, which were some of the things they wanted in their initial resolution. And we would also provide a tap for them to tap into that sewer line at some point once they have the money to connect to it, and however they want to do that. So we're trying to help them in every way we can without spending township, money. And that was all in the memorandum of understanding, and I don't understand why it's taken them 2 months to try and sign that or issue a resolution that basically says the same thing, and they just keep stalling and stalling and stalling. So that's why we thought at this point we have to, we've got a developer breathing down township's back, and who certainly has sued the township in the past. We didn't want to go through that again, so we were at the point where we had to ask Eagle to issue the permit for the wastewater treatment plant, even though we don't want it and nobody seems to want it. But maybe that'll be the shove that people need to, grant the consent that we need to go through Canton.
Thank you, Ed. Any other questions?
I've got a quick question about the overflow lot as far as our restoration plans once the construction is done, because obviously it's not looking like what it used to.
The parking lot over here? Bruce, you want to comment on that?
Other than that, it's our responsibility to restore it at the end of construction. The key is when we're going to be done with construction. We know that we're going to get as much as we can done before the winter season. We're not sure if all the landscaping will be able to be completed. So it may be a spring final cleanup, but they should have it. Anything that's not able to be done before the end of the construction season needs to be at least usable, workable. So we will hold them accountable, get rid of the piles, and make sure that lives at least passable and usable for backup permit. We will make sure we hold them accountable.
Very good.
Did we get the easement signed off for the guy at the airport? Did you do that this week?
I don't know. Okay.
So we're still waiting for him to sign off on that. All right. All right. Public comment? Anybody else got anything to say?
Mr. Supervisor?
Yes.
Steve Roberts just texted me and said that the east side road is now open up at that intersection.
Go out that way now?
Yeah, but be advised, I think they're gonna do another course in a day or two that will take it down again, but he texted me it's open now.
Okay.
So the first course is,
Thanks.
base courses, you're able to commute on that, but when you get to that finished course, it's gonna be a finer material, and you're gonna want it to set a little bit longer before you start putting heavy track, because, you know, if there's a little torquing on the base course, finished course covers that, but if you start doing it on the finished course, it'll be there. So we want that finished course to set for probably 3 days before we traffic it.
Do we know when 6 Mile is going to be completed so we can get here to Township Hall?
Well,
Can you pick lottery numbers? It's all weather dependent, right?
We're struggling with the temperatures next week being a little bit too cold for paving. If we had the temperatures, I would say they would be able to have it open by the time that the asphalt pits close in Thanksgiving, basically through Thanksgiving weekend. But right now, we're struggling with the fact that it looks like there's not going to be a pavable day during the week next week so far.
it's coming, it's coming.
It will be passable, again, I just, minutes before I walked in here, to talk about what do we have to do to make it, to open up the road, even if it's on the base course, and we have to do, where the few, there's a section of Salem, or of 6 Mile that's gonna be picked up and repaved, but it's still intact right now. We will leave that, if we're not able to find those days, we will leave that and just patch the saw cuts across there for the winter, so we have passable traffic on pavement. It looks like we'll have passable traffic on pavement on 6 Mile, no matter what. They're getting real close to it right now. As long as they have a good day tomorrow, we'll have it. But it may not be finish coated by the time the plant is shut down.
So it looks as if it's going into next year then?
Certainly for some of it, it will be, I think from a landscaping standpoint, but again, it's day by day on the weather. You can get a nice little warm up. You can, up until when the plant's closed on the asphalt side of it. The concrete side, they can use curing blankets and a few other things to accelerate the setting of the concrete. So they've got a little longer window on the concrete stuff, which is our sidewalks and our brick base coat.
We already got the Christmas decorations. They're ready to go up. All right, folks, if not anything else, thanks for being here, and we're dismissed.
Thank you.
Adjourn. You're not dismissed, you're not king. No, just